and welcome to Fantastic Books and How to Write Them. Hot take: the Bible is one of my favorite books. It's influenced many of the narratives I value most, many of the authors I hold in highest esteem. It informed my undergrad and graduate studies and became central to my approach to theory and criticism. It informs my creative work to this day, both in how I compose and how I analyze it. As a minister's daughter, my entire life was the Bible. I grew up in the church: Sunday school, junior church, worship service, Saturday evening service, weekly chapel, nightly Bible time, private schooling, homeschooling, religious media, and I can attest to the fact that fundamentalists are misinterpreting and misapplying Scripture. That the Bible, as perceived through a literalist lens, is not merely a tool in untrained hands, but a weapon in bigoted ones. What the Bible is: an anthology, an epic, a series of allegories, a complex mosaic of myths and metaphors, a profound piece of magical realism, one of many primers on spirituality. Above all else, a work of art. What the Bible is not: a textbook, a medical journal, a manifesto for modern legislative use, a blunt object with which to bludgeon non-believers, an all you'll ever need to know for the intellectually lazy, a morality for dummies for the empathy impaired, a get-out-of-reasoning-free card for the logic-averse, a substitute for conscience and common sense. While authorities of antiquity are still invoked, many self-professed people of faith reject the insights of contemporary scholars. Indeed, to venture into anything more tainted with modernity than C.S. Lewis' lay theologic Mere Christianity would be the epitome of vulgarity. To consult an academic source unblemished by ideological bias would be unthinkable. But if our descent into Dark Age theocracy is any indication, perhaps the pre-Reformation Church was right in its elitist treatment of the text. Perhaps Luther should not have nailed his 95 Theses to the door. Perhaps Tyndale should not have translated the Bible into English. Perhaps King James should not have commissioned its transformation into material accessible to the uneducated layman. Those who weaponize the Bible, who use it as an instrument of tyranny and control, display a gross disregard for the sacrifices underscoring its assimilation into the layperson's library, the persecution and punishment many faced in fighting for our privilege, nay, our right, to read and understand it for ourselves. They forget that prior to its translation, it was the prerogative of the clergy to interpret and articulate its contents at their discretion. Now it would seem every evangelical Ayatollah has transcended the text, with beliefs above both canonical dispute and rational debate, in the tradition of divine right, unquestioned, unchallenged, unqualified to reign. Perhaps we should reintroduce a credentialed class and grant them exclusive access to the text, if this is to be the fate of the Bible, not a sword of the Spirit, but a sword of Damocles. Its democratic distribution has not stopped or even slowed the abuse of passages originating as part of the Levitical Code. Not only are they stripped of their historical context and cultural nuance, but their restitution demonstrates a Christian worldview that is ironically ignorant of the Gospels, along with broader biblical precepts. The New Testament covenant, ushered in by the sacrifice of Christ, effectively dissolves the Old Testament suzerainty, a severance symbolized by the tearing of the curtain in the Holy of Holies. It hasn't prevented Paul's epistles, which could fill a doctrinal discourse all its own, from being implemented with a cognitive blindness more complete than that of Saul of Tarsus on the road to Damascus. Maybe someone should listen to the talking donkey. Cold take: don't bump a book you haven't read. And don't read just one book. Read books about that book. Read books entirely unrelated to that book. Read books that contradict that book. Read How to Read the Bible as Literature by Leland Reichend if you were seeking a recommendation. And remember that the purpose of reading is not merely to validate our views, to placate our delicate sensibilities, to let undisputed convictions collect dust, but to shine a light on all we do not know and put to the fire all we think we do. Please stay tuned for more fantastic books and how to write them. In the meantime, just keep writing.